So, whoa, you can hear me pretty well? I'm so glad that there's a microphone because I've had kind of a bad cold and now I won't have to talk so loud. I am so glad to be here and talking to you guys today. Like she said, I'm a realtor with Edina Realty, and I work out of both the Hastings and the Cannon Falls office. I work in rural Cannon Falls, or I live in rural Cannon Falls. And this is a subject that actually is on my mind just about every day. And that episode that you were talking about, Rosie, was actually, had more to do, I think, with a drug deal. And the wife was targeted because of the boyfriend's activities. And it happened she was a realtor. And, but it just highlighted kind of the danger that is, because he got her to a vacant home and she ended up losing her life as a result. So, and there have been a lot of other things that have been happening. You've heard in the news there was an open house where 3 men attacked a real estate agent. They knocked him on the head with a lamp, drove him to his knees, and this guy was able to fight them off, but he ended up with a broken cheekbone and a bunch of cuts on his face. A teenager recently killed a realtor in Maryland at an open house model home showing. And in Arkansas, a real estate agent was abducted and was killed when they were showing home to a potential client. So these things do happen. And in fact, according to a report by the National Association of Realtors, almost 40% of the realtors reported that they have been in a situation where they felt that they were in potential danger. So that's a pretty high percentage. Well, consider this. You work alone. You're showing houses alone. You're meeting with clients on your own. And most of the clients that you're working with are strangers. You don't know if they've got a history of mental illness, if they've got a criminal record, or drug or alcohol abuse issues. And the properties that you show, they're located just about anywhere. They could be in a very nice neighborhood. They could be kind of in a scary part of town, or a vacant home in a rural country setting. Also, open houses, they're advertised publicly, right? So everybody knows via internet, newspapers, social media, exactly where you're going to be, the hours that you're going to be there. The door will be wide open and you're going to be alone. So hey, what could go wrong? Sometimes things do. So what I'm going to talk to you today about is there are actually 3 groups of people that I'm going to talk about: the realtor, buyers, and the sellers. And I'm going to talk about some of the risks that are involved. I'm also going to talk about some of the tips and ideas, things that we can do to protect ourselves. And in reality, these basic principles, I'm going to be talking to them in the context of like the realtor, okay? But they're things that can be applied to anyone, anytime, anywhere, okay? And in preparation for this, I was talking to my brother Bob. He's a retired major with the State Patrol. And I remember early on in his career, when he was just a rookie, talking to him and him basically telling me that to expect that everyone on the road is an idiot and they're going to be doing dumb stuff. And he was right. And for instance, he said, never hang out in the left lane, because people driving the wrong way, that's where you're going to run into them. And of course, always buckle your seatbelt. But then the other thing was, he said, always be really watching the road ahead. Like, say to yourself, why is that car stepping on its brakes 1/4 mile ahead? You know, always, because what you're doing is you're always not just driving defensively, but you're always kind of assessing the situation. You're trying to imagine what scenarios are playing out ahead of you and then make a plan. And I tell you, those things have just become a habit for me. I'm coming up Wagner Hill on 52, especially in the wintertime. I'm at the top. I see down halfway to the bottom, maybe by Skunk Hollow, I see some people stepping on their brakes. I'm going, okay, what's going on? Is it slippery today? Is there some deer out? Is some driver having an issue? Whatever it is, I'm watching out for it. I'm preparing for it at the top of the hill. It's just a habit, and I know it's probably become a habit with a lot of you too. So what does road safety have to do with realtor safety? Well, everything, because of two big words: situational awareness. And I'm going to talk a lot about that this morning, okay? Does anybody have a cat? Okay, if you have an indoor cat, this is what your indoor cat is probably aware of. He knows where the litter box is. He knows where the food dish is and probably about the time it's going to get filled up for him. He knows where the comfy cushions are, and he knows where that sunny hot spot is on the floor, right? Maybe he's aware of where you are, maybe not. But that's about it. Now, I have outdoor cats. If you look at an outdoor cat, this is what they're always doing. Their ears are going. They are situationally aware. They're always aware of their surroundings. They're always watching to see if there's a coyote or a raccoon nearby, if somebody's going to steal their food. If I go into my garage and the cat got in there, I'll find it perched at the highest place it can be, looking down at me, right? Because it knows that's probably the safest place to be. If it's sitting on my porch, even if it's on my lap, there's a loud, unexpected noise, bam, they are out of there so fast. You don't know. They've always had a plan. They know where they're going to run if they need to. And can they hide? When our mama cat has her babies, it takes my 7-year-old grandson to be able to find them, hidden, down underneath stuff, back against a wall, right? And if that cat finds itself pushed against a wall or feels threatened, you don't want to mess with it, because they will fight. They will defend themselves. Well, what I'm going to talk to you about today is you want to be an outdoor cat, okay? I'm going to give you a lot of tips, and they can be applied anywhere, but they all come back to being constantly aware of your surroundings. You got to have a plan. You got to know if you got to run, where you're going to run. If you got to hide, where you're going to hide. And if you're going to fight, you're going to fight like you're a cornered cat. So let's take it to the realtor, okay? Back to the fact that when we're showing houses and we're working with clients, they usually start out as perfect strangers. We don't know anything about them, right? So one of the first things that I like to do when at all possible is meet them at the office first. And I try to get a read on the people I'm talking to. Are they who they say they are? Are they going to mean harm to me? And one of the good things that they suggest that we do, I don't know, Shelley, do we do this always? Is get, Shelley is another agent with me that works with me at Edina. Get a copy of their ID. And I always fill out an informational sheet with their contact information. If possible, I'll introduce them to somebody else from the office. It's another layer of accountability to deter them from thinking that they could take advantage of you. I have a code word that I use. My husband knows that if I'm on a phone call with him and if I use the word umbrella, I'm in trouble and I need some help fast. A couple years ago, I got a call. It was from a young man. I didn't know him at the time, and he wanted to see a house, okay? And he couldn't go to see it until he got off work. It was this time of year, so by the time we got there, I knew it was going to be dark. And so I just didn't know. You know, you don't always know. I didn't know him. He had this kind of a soft voice. And so I told the gal at the front desk the address of where I was going. And I said, please call me. And I told her about the time I was going to get there. And sure enough, I pulled up in front of the house, and there were two vehicles there, big pickup truck and an SUV. And out of the pickup truck jumps this young man. And then out of the SUV right behind him hops out his dad and his mom and his teenage sister. So I thought, oh, thank you, Jesus. We're safe this time. And right on cue, my office staff gave me a call and said, everything okay? And I was able to say, yep, we're doing great. Thanks for calling. And in that case, it was a good ending. I didn't, I was safe. We found him a dandy home, and his dad helped him remodel it. They became great friends, and they referred other business to me. So that one had a happy ending. But I tried to prepared in case it wasn't a happy ending. So. And the other thing that I always need to do is, like I did with the office staff, let somebody know where I am, let somebody know my schedule. And something that we do at our house, we have a GPS system on our cell phone. It's called Life 360. And I pop up on it right here. And my husband is on it, and my daughter and her husband that live with us. So we always know each other are. Right now, my husband, Steve, is driving near Excelsior Boulevard. I know he's on his way up to Plymouth. Diana is at home, and Samuel is driving near Pilot Knob Road. And so I can kind of see there's, I don't know if you can see there, but there's a little icon for each of us. Boy, it's nice. So so Steve, we really keep track of each other all the time. And I just realized I should probably put my phone on silent or it's going to start ringing. My phone rings all day long. If there was a problem and Steve needed to get help from me, he could pinpoint with pretty good accuracy exactly where I am, which it's a great feeling of security for me, and to kind of keep watch out for each other. And that's something that any of you can do with your close circle of family and friends if you wanted to. Also, when I'm opening a lockbox, it's the craziest thing, but when I'm standing at a door unlocking it, that's when I feel the most vulnerable because my back is to the world. So if it's at all possible, when I'm opening the lockbox and then the house, I'll try to stand to the side just a little bit if I can, so that I can still see the clients that I'm working with. You want to show houses during the day if it's all possible, but sometimes, especially this time of year, you can't get around doing it after dark. So one of the things that I always do is I turn on every single light in that house, and I keep the shades open. I don't draw the curtains, keep it wide open, so whatever room you're in, if somebody's watching from outside, they'd be able to see you. And this is a big one, a really big one. I never let my clients walk behind me. They lead, I follow behind. I don't want anybody behind where I can't see what they're doing. Also, I don't go around flashing expensive jewelry, and I don't appear to have large sums of cash. And it's sad that it has to be this way, but ladies, dress modestly. You just don't want to ask for trouble. Okay? Now, open houses. Remember, we've advertised to the public where we're going to be. The door is wide open. Anybody can come walking in that door. So there are a lot of preventative things that I do before I even get there to the open house. And one of them is, if I've got valuables, I pop them in my trunk. My laptop, my purse, if I don't bring it with me, pop it in the trunk. You just don't want it out in the open where somebody can smash and grab. Take it out. And here's a new one, and this is some place where every one of us can be a part of. If I'm going to hold an open, I can knock on the neighbor's door across the street next door and say, hey, I'm going to be doing an open house on Sunday from 1 to 3. Can you just kind of keep an eye on things for me? And most people are more than happy to do it. Plus, they're curious about what's going on and they want to come see the house anyway. So welcome them in. They're welcome to come. I love it when neighbors come to the open house. And if you have a neighbor who has a house that's listed for sale, man, what a great neighborly thing to do is just kind of keep an eye on it. If you see anything suspicious, let the sellers know. There's a number always for the real estate agent. You can call them and let them know if there's anything crazy going on. When people are showing the house, it doesn't hurt to keep an eye on it, make sure everybody's okay. That's something that we as a community can do for each other. when you arrive, and this is not just me as a realtor, but this is you, anybody, I always park in the most visible, well-lit area that I can. And I usually park out on the street rather than pulling into the driveway for 2 reasons. Number one, I don't want my car to get blocked in. I want to be able to move if I have to. And number two, if, God forbid, I have to run out of that house and I have to get help, if I'm raising a ruckus, if I'm screaming, if whatever, I'm going to draw more attention to myself out on the street than I would up in the driveway. So another reason to park out in the street. And before you even get out of the car, take a good look around. Just assess the situation. Is there anything that looks weird, out of place, unusual activity, somebody loitering around? And I always watch, okay, where are those hiding spots that I need to kind of be careful about? Just always be aware. Be like that outdoor cat. Just always be watching and being aware. When I get into the house, like I was saying, that's kind of the vulnerable time. As soon as I get in, I usually lock it behind me. I'm usually there a few minutes early and just stop at the door. And I just kind of look around. Say, anything look out of place? Anyone there that shouldn't be there, or anything there that shouldn't be there. Just kind of, it just takes a couple seconds, but just scan, just be aware, always be aware. And then I'll just walk through the house, and that's where making your plan comes in place. I always know where my escape routes are going to be. Here's the front door, here's the patio door, here's the kitchen side door, whatever. I just always want to know the layout of the house so that I know where I can go if I need to. And that's when I hide my purse. I usually have it in there with me, and I've come up with some pretty creative ideas. I'll go in the laundry room and I'll put it in the laundry basket and cover it with the clothes, or I put it in the front hall closet in, between the shoes, kind of in the back there, so places that people aren't gonna see it and take something out of it. And that's when I pull out my safety devices, which I'm gonna talk about in a second. And I do all this before I unlock the door. Okay, it's 1 o'clock, open house is ready, right? Unlock the door, kind of pull it open a little bit, and the guests begin to arrive. Okay, I greet everybody when they come in the door, and I size them up. And I love families. I love it when people come with their kids, and when there's a lot of people coming through the house. That's why it's okay if you're a neighbor and your neighbor is having an open house, you just feel free to come and see it. Don't you love having neighbors come? Plus, as a realtor, it gives me, I get a lot of background information about the neighborhood and stuff too. Lots of people. It's nice having guests when you have the open, and so it's not just one person and you're alone. But if somebody comes in and they're kind of giving me the heebie-jeebies, I stay on alert. And I never, ever, ever let that person get in between me and the door. And if they go into a room, I don't go into the room. I never let that person basically trap me in the room where they're at the door and I'm in the room. Always be the one at the door, let them be in the room. Your guests go in the basement. I don't go in the basement. I'll talk to them from the stairs, but I don't want to be stuck in the basement with, and not being able to get out. And so I'm taking all these precautions, but what if the unthinkable happens? You've done all the preparation that you can, but you can't run, and you don't have a place to hide, and now it's up to self-defense. That is a scary thing. I was talking to my brother Bob about this, and I was talking about this lipstick stun gun that I have. And I was telling him about it, and he goes, "So, what's your plan?" I said, "Well, I really didn't have a plan." I just said, "Well, I've got this," but I figured, and I don't have it with me, I just have the box, because I was so worried about my grandkids getting a hold of it that I tucked it away somewhere, and I don't know where that place is, so I gotta find it. But here's a picture of it. And in fact, here, I'll pass it around so you can see. And oh, I tell you, that thing has a loud electrical zap. And we were talking, it's probably a pretty good deterrent. It scares the living daylights out of you. He said, what are you going to do with it? And my plan is basically, okay, I'm going to zap the person with it. You want to touch the skin, so we're talking, you're in pretty close contact at that point. Just to give me a few seconds so I can get out of there and get some help. Here, I'll pass it around if you want to take a look.
Where do you keep it then, when you're walking around? Do you have a big pocket or?
Oh, I have stuff in my hand. I've got a pepper spray, you know, got something in my hand.
Okay, so if they see it, they know.
Yeah. And I don't always have it in my hand. It's only if I feel I need it.
Yeah.
When I'm sometimes walking to the car and back.
Take that off.
But let's see, I got to find my spot here. Oh, yeah, because he was saying, what's your plan? And he really pressed the issue, and now I understand what he was talking about, because he said, okay, you got to think in terms of facts, not feelings. Because he said, think about it. When is violence or danger going to happen? Is it going to be when you're in your office, when you're in your car, when you're getting out of your car, on the sidewalk, in a house somewhere? You don't know when it's going to happen. So you have to expect the unexpected. And then when it does happen, violence is violent. It is scary, and it's nasty. And you want to know ahead of time what you're going to do. So if I have this little stun gun, I need to practice physically. I don't want to be zapping people, but you know, using it and go through it in my mind, rehearse it so that I know when that happens, I'm not going to curl up and get into the fetal position and wimp out and be scared, because then if you're going to get killed, you're going to get killed. I'm going to fight like I'm a cornered cat. And I'm going to take that, and I'm going to, and he was describing, he said, you zap them over and over again. You get them in the eyeball, you get them in the neck, you get them in the groin, wherever it is. You don't stop. If you're cornered, if you're against the wall, you use whatever weapon you have. You improvise if you need to. You scream, you yell, and you don't be nice. You say to yourself, I'm going to go home. I'm going to get out of this situation. I'm going to go be with my kids, my family. I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to get out of here alive. And you do whatever it takes. So whatever this is that you have, it's your stun gun, your pepper spray. Some people pack a gun. You commit that you are going to use what you have at your disposal, and you're going to not whip out on it. You're going to use it until you get to a place where you're safe and you can call. Now, if you're able, and you're in a situation where you can call 911, rehearse that ahead of time too. Rehearse what you're going to say and speak clearly. Hi, I'm Pam Collins. I'm a realtor. I'm at 123 Elm Street. I'm being attacked. I'm feeling threatened, whatever. I need help. So that, and if you can't talk, keep the line open so the dispatcher can hear you. I'm assuming that that's what I understood.
If you have to throw your phone under the couch and leave an open line,
oh,
I don't care. We just want an open line because we're
oh, that's a good idea too.
Whatever dispatch can hear, they'll tell us.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, good. So I got good advice. So now you've gotten through the open house and nothing bad has happened. Everybody's left. Do one more check through the house, make sure everybody's left. And this is something for both realtors and sellers of homes to know. I try as best as I can to make sure all the windows and doors are locked, because there are criminals that pose as buyers, and they come through open houses and they're casing it out. And then they'll leave something unlocked, maybe in the back of the house, so they can come back later that night and rob the place. So just as a protection for your sellers, you want to do that double check if you can. Same thing, when I lock the door and get out of there, I do it, I just don't waste time, and I try not to carry a lot of stuff so they can just get out of there, get back in my car as quickly as possible. Okay, driving on the road, and realtors do a lot of driving. Oh my word, I can't believe the miles I've put on my car. Although it's a great tax deduction, I have to say. And all the normal stuff, you know, safe driving techniques. But you also want to make sure you've got good tires, especially in Minnesota winter, and keep your car in good repair. You don't want to be breaking down. And they say to try to keep your tank no less than half full. And if I have time to go to the gas station, I do that. Not always. I subscribe to AAA or some roadside assistance. Boy, has that been a help. And I always just never leave valuables showing in the car. And we don't drive our clients around anymore. You know how you used to do that? And a lot of times there's family with kids and they've got all the car seats that they need to have for the kids, and you don't have that. I'll drive maybe older people around that are, you know, not familiar with the area, or close friends and family that I know really well. But for the most part, your clients drive themselves and you drive your own car. And just a simple thing when I'm marketing, I don't put my personal information in any of it, my home phone number, and I never announce my vacation plans. How many of you are on like Facebook or social media? Okay, you don't want to let people know ahead of time you're going to be gone. Okay, now, and these are all people issues that I've been talking about. I didn't even touch on angry pets. I got bit the other day showing listing a house. Loose squirrels, bats in a house. And ghosts. Oh, I could tell you some fun stories that I've had, yeah. Have you had any crazy stories with ghosts? Yeah. Oh, I had my haunted house. It was kind of cool. Okay, so I'm going to leave the realtor piece of it for a second, and I'm going to go to the buyer piece, because I may have talked you out of being a realtor. But chances are, just about everybody in this room has or will be a buyer or a seller at some point. And there's just a couple things that I just want to mention that you need to be really careful for. And I passed this pepper spray around, but have you all seen pepper spray? Yeah, just in practice using it so you know how to use it. Cyber security. They have gotten so sophisticated. And in the real estate world, there are large sums of cash being transferred, and there are people doing these transactions that don't do it very often. And so it makes realtors and buyers and sellers prime suspects, you know, to be a victim of cybercrime. So a couple things. Never, ever, ever under any circumstances give out your social security number or account numbers or private information over the phone. And when you are online, emails, messages, things like that, never click on suspicious links. And two things that'll make it very suspicious is if there's any grammar mistakes and any spelling mistakes. Red flag. If there's any question, don't. And what has happened is wire transfers have, there are people offshore that pose as very legitimate entities. They may pretend that they're your title company or your mortgage company, and they'll say something like, here are your new wiring instructions. So you follow those wiring instructions, and your money, $30,000, $60,000, your entire down payment on your house ends up in some offshore account, and it's impossible to track. So when you are buying and selling a house, your title company, your mortgage lender, and your realtor will give you very specific information about what to do about wire transfers, and listen to it and follow it to a T. If you do that, you'll be protected. So just something to be aware of. Oh, and audio video recordings. You know, electronic equipment is so inexpensive and so easy to install nowadays that when you are going through a house, you can pretty much assume that the seller is either listening or watching you as you're going through the house. It's not exactly legal, I don't think, but they do it nonetheless. So don't say or do anything you wouldn't want caught on tape when you're going through a house. Okay, sellers. You know, just by virtue of the fact that your house is on the market means that a lot of attention is being drawn to your house. And that's just a time to be extra vigilant. And if you have your house for sale and there's a sign out in front of your house and somebody comes and knocks on your door and says, "Hey, I see your house is for sale. Can I take a look at it?" Your answer is no. You don't let them in. You have no idea who the stranger is. You don't know what their intentions are. You don't even know if they're qualified to buy a house or not. You just point to the phone number on that sign and say, you call the agent, and the agent will set up a time. Now, here is the problem. If you are doing a for sale by owner, you are taking on all that risk yourself. You're letting strangers into your home that you don't know without some of the layers of protection that realtors have in place to find out the identity, to confirm the identity of that person, and to know if they're actually able to buy. And there's kind of a whole referral network of agents if there are problems. And we're in tune to the latest scams and have a better sense of what's normal and what should raise suspicions. So if you choose to sell your house yourself, just be aware that you're taking on some of those risks and be prepared to deal with it. Hide, lock up your valuables. Don't, especially small things that'd be easy to pocket, you know, small electronic devices, keys, credit cards, jewelry, prescription drugs, and big items too, furs, guns. You might want to just get them out of the house. And especially no pictures. Guns should never appear in any of the pictures. Boy, that's a big red flag there. And also, you'll never say vacant when you're advertising homes, because you don't want to advertise the fact that the home isn't being lived in. And you know, a really good deterrent, just get a good sturdy outside door, like a metal door or a hardwood, maybe 1 3/4 inch thick, and good sturdy locks. Boy, there's nothing like a good door. So, and then just another thing, there are a lot of people coming in and out of your house. Make sure your sidewalks and your steps are clear and no tripping hazards, rugs and stuff. You might want to not have that in your house anyway, some of those tripping hazards. So, if I were to sum up everything that I've said here this morning, and I know I talk really fast, I hope I'm not talking too fast, but I'm trying to get a lot of stuff out. Here are the 2 things, if you don't remember anything else, that I want you to remember, okay? Be an outdoor cat. Always be aware of your surroundings. You want to stay in tune to those details that give you a sense that something isn't right, your gut feeling, that sixth sense. Sometimes you don't know why. It's a subconscious thing. It's a combination of things that you are seeing, hearing, smelling, observing. Listen to that sixth sense. You want to just always be aware. And like the cats, you know, there's a lot of posturing. You see animals, they're posturing all the time, you know. I'm bigger than you, no, I'm tougher than you, right? It's because they really don't want to fight if they don't have to. And human beings are similar in a little way. You want to have that extra edge of protection. You want to be confident. You want to know, you want to have a plan in place. Your goal is always flight over fighting. But if the case comes and you do have to defend yourself, commit to it. Fight like you're a cornered cat. Do whatever it takes. Don't be nice, don't wimp out. Defend yourself in whatever way it takes, and be safe. So, those are some of the things that I deal with as a realtor that I think about, and I hope that some of the principles that I've learned might be helpful to you. And I don't know if there's questions, or what do you do next?
Thank you so much. Can you give her a welcome? Oh, thank you. Thank you.